I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to give him a little hand. He has, since I've been president, has been responsible for more than half of the programs we've had. So we would give Ray a hand. And he says he'll still suggest them, but he's not going to beat the bushes anymore. Right. And now I'm going to call on Ray, introducing the speaker. He says he has quit, so this will be our last opportunity to have him do this. Ray, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Alex, so much. Yes, I got back spurs on my back and 4 vertebrae. It's kind of deteriorated. Okay, today we have a great speaker. He is a #1 producer. That's what most teachers teach in school, is for their students to become producers, good producers, and work on your social quotient and your intelligent quotient and all that. Well, he is a local Kingsport boy, and he has been all over the place. And he is such a valuable citizen, and he is in charge of the retail store there in over on Hart Street. 25,000 square feet that where old Roberts and Johnson used to have that building years ago and so on. All right, here he's going to tell you all about himself and what they have accomplished there. All right, Milburn Lane. There you go.
Thank you, Ray, and thanks everybody for having me here today. I really love getting out in the community and spreading the word of what we do at the Habitat ReStore in particular, and with Habitat for Humanity in general. I wanted to give you a little background on myself, just so you know who's speaking at you today. I was hired back in 2012 to run the ReStore. It had been in business for many years there on 5 Points. I'm sure everybody remembers where it was on 5 Points. But does everybody know that's where they were on 5 Points? Is everybody familiar with that? Does everybody know that when they first started, they started in that little annex in the back? That little place where they had the doors and the windows and all that stuff? That was the first store. Of course, Helen Kane's, Marilyn Nations, and several others got this beautiful idea together. And anyway, that's where they started, is that little bitty building, okay? So just wanted to clarify that for you. So anyway, when we moved to our larger location out on Main Street, they brought me in to run the operation, to handle the facility and things of that nature. When I first got there, I was the first and only employee. There were 3 days full of volunteers, and each day was its own separate business, which was quite a challenge for me, because and a great opportunity. I'm going to be talking about opportunities today, and it was a great opportunity for me to learn from these different groups and to learn how they cohesed and they worked together to build what I was actually taking over. So it was a great opportunity for me. But just a little background on myself. I was born here in Kingsport. My family moved down to Florida when I was a young boy, and I grew up there out in the Tampa Bay area. I went to college in St. Petersburg at Eckerd College, and ended up working there after I graduated for 15 years with the Human Resource Institute. We did data analysis and metrics for some of the larger organizations in the country. Eastman was one of them. I spent several days up here talking with Keith Surgener, Fielding Roston, and some other HR executives. But anyway, I spent 15 years doing that. 9/11 hit, funding got shut down on all of those extra funds for these companies, so I took it upon myself to move my family back up here. It was also good because my parents were here. My daughter hadn't really had the opportunity to be with them as much as I would like, So I took that as a sign that I needed to move and this is where I needed to be. And oh my goodness, was that the right call, I gotta tell you. Came up, ended up working for King Pharmaceuticals out in Bristol for 7 years. Actually, the Pfizer for the last 2 after they took us over. But in the HR function there, I learned a lot about the area, met a lot of wonderful people. And interestingly, when I finally got let go there after the Pfizer transfer took over, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something special. I wanted to do something local that would make a difference. And I wasn't really seeing anything. And I got a call one morning from my father. He says, "Mildred, I see something in the paper that's got your name all over it. You know that ReStore that you talked about?" Because, I mean, we were fans. Me and my wife and my daughter, we'd go down, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, walk around, spend time fellowshipping with everybody, just like the customers I see do now. Going through their wares, finding some great deals. And then he says, they're moving locations and they're looking for somebody to run it. It's like, wow. Now that could be something special. That really could. So I sent in my resume, talked with Laura Swanson, Hal Johnson, which is a good friend of mine there from First Baptist, one of the first people I met when I came into town. You always go into the church and you find your right spot. And I certainly did that there as well. But I was fortunate enough to have them hire me on as this job. And that's basically my background. It's HR based, metrics based. I was a numbers guy. Everybody wondered, how did the retail come into play? But my dad owned businesses or ran 200 of somebody else's his whole life. So I saw it daily. I heard the conversations, so it wasn't completely new to me. But before I go on about the ReStore and what all that is, I just wanted to give you a brief review of Habitat itself, Habitat for Humanity. And I'm sure everybody knows that this was, I'm looking at notes, I usually talk, but I have notes and I'm trying to pay attention, which is kind of funny. Yeah, okay, there it goes. There's me, and there's me. Okay, of course it was founded by Linda and Mildred Fuller back in 1978, along with Clarence Jordan. They were all church members. Jimmy Carter is always the face now, but he went to their church. And that's how they came to be. Mildred and Linda had the great idea along with Clarence, but Jimmy had that outward going voice. He was the one that could really bring attention to what they were trying to do. And what they were trying to do is really they were creating a concept of partnering housing because they saw a need in housing. There was substandard housing, people living in unsatisfactory conditions. And they really wanted to do something about that. They really wanted to make a difference in that. And that's how the foundation was founded, and was to create a life of Christian service that the Fullers set out to achieve. That's really what they wanted to do, okay? Okay, there we go, okay. And of course the mission of Habitat is seeking to put God's love into action by bringing together people to build homes, communities, and hope. And the vision was a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And like I said, that goes back to their original thoughts, their original conversations that they had amongst themselves, is how they could really make a difference. And they came up with a list of principles, there we go, that they really wanted to base this mission on, and that is to demonstrate the love of Jesus Christ, first and foremost. To focus on shelter, to advocate for affordable housing, to promote dignity and hope, and to support sustainable and transformative development. And that was back in 1968. So about 1988 is when we initiated the affiliate here in Holston, the Holston Habitat affiliate here in the Greater Tri-Cities. And that was Joe Morrison was the lead on that, and she is still out and active today. Does anybody or everybody here know Joe Morrison? If you know her, you understand what I'm talking about. If you don't know her, you're missing out. She's just a wonderful, lovely person. And and as gracious as she is, she will also tell you how it is if she sees something. She comes into my store at least once a month. Her, Ms. Preston brings her by and walks her through, and she just has such joy in seeing the customers and seeing the volunteers, the homeowners that work through our store. It's a blessing to have somebody like that as the basis of what we're doing today. We may get down or get a little backed up at the store, but we think, well, look at Joe. Lady's 103 years old and she's still kicking it. She's out there running programs. She's sitting on boards. She's doing everything that she can possibly do because, well, that's what the Lord tells her to do. So that's what she does, okay? And then we talk about the ReStores. All right. Of course, generally, the ReStores are non-profit home improvement stores and donation centers. The money that we make out of the ReStore goes back into the affiliate, and that's the way it is nationwide. There's 700 Habitat for Humanity ReStores in the nation, and that number grows every day. We just opened our second one 2 years ago in Johnson City. But they found that is a great revenue stream for the affiliates. This one here in particular, that was started in 1991, 1992 by Helen Kane's Maryland Nations and their crew, right? And I would be remiss without saying that a part of that original crew was Mildred Meyers. And she was a volunteer when I first got there. And she was there for 25 years, volunteering every week. We lost her this past Monday after an illness. She was 88 years old. But she, among so many other ones, taught me so much about the ReStore and about what it truly meant. And it's not just selling the wares, it's about interacting with the people, being out in the community, making a difference, and being able to share that difference that we make every day. And that's really one of the biggest things that I learned when I came in there. It wasn't about pricing or merchandising, anything like that. It was about truly, genuinely caring for the people that surround you and the people that are in your community. And I don't know if I would have been able to do the job that I did without her, okay? And they ran that store for what, 23 years before we moved. And then when they moved, they brought me over to take over the operation. This is our, who has not been to this location? Who's not been to this store? Good. I was going to say, I recognize a lot of you. I've already had conversations with some of you about you coming down and things that you have found there. But we purchased this facility, which was just a stroke of genius. We were so lucky it dropped in our laps. It's the Holston Building Supplies warehouses. There's a couple of those that we bought. And we were originally just going to use the main building, and the secondary building was going to be for building. We were going to do some prefab building in that second location. But they weren't really doing that. We didn't have that functionality available to us, that expertise. And I happened to talk to this guy, Ted's Industrial and Commercial Supply out in Rogersville. He was moving his location. So he gave us 35 big boxed pallets worth of industrial and commercial supplies, plus 5 semi-truckloads. And I said, wait, I'm gonna have to take over this building, guys, sorry. So I doubled our space in a matter of a month just by doing that. So the builders are still there, they're under the underhang there, and we do share that property with them. But it was very advantageous to get such a wonderful donation from Ted's Industrial Supply and the ability to take advantage of receiving it. Because there's a lot of Habitat ReStores that don't have the facility that we do. We don't have the manpower, they don't have the manpower to run it. So they do what they can, but we are very fortunate to have the location that we have. And I thank God for that every day. When you talk about shopping at the ReStore, we sell everything but clothes, and sometimes even those. You know, there's specialty clothing and what have you that we sell. But if you come into the main building, we have all types of furniture: couches, sofas, love seats, recliners, straight chairs, dining tables, end tables, you name it. As far as furniture, we have it. We have kids' toys. We have electronics. We have books. We sold 4,000 books last month. 4,000 books. We usually sell 3,000, 3,500, but it was an exceptional month because we got a lot of great donations of some big volumes. That and our people, they come in, they'll sit in the seats. We have chairs in our little library area where people spend hours and they just stack them up. And at the end of the day, I mean, they're a quarter. Some of them are 95% of our books are a quarter. We're just wanting to pass it on. You know, we're a volume-based entity. We don't want to hang on to it. We want to provide it back out to the community. Okay. We also have a lot of collectibles. A lot of people come in and look for collectibles, whether it's your carnival glass or your Longaberger baskets. Longaberger, is that right? A lot of this stuff I didn't, some of it I knew, a lot of it I didn't know, and I'm still learning every day as new things come in. But we have, you know, our domestics, we have loads of linens, we go through loads of linens. Glasswares, housewares, all of those domestic pieces. Electronics, we have, you know, the televisions, stereos, CDs, DVDs, tapes of all kinds. We have Charlene that works on Thursday, which is a seamstress that goes through a lot of sewing machines that we get in. We also have a lot of fabric. We have patterns. People still use patterns. I sell loads of patterns, which really amazes me. But it's a great thing to see people, and they're so excited to see some of the items we have, and that's part of that builds the passion of running such an organization, is to be able to see the happiness that the shoppers feel when they notice something that they've been looking for, because you know you can't just get this stuff anywhere else. Okay, and that's just the first building. That's the main building. You go across the breezeway into the next building, into our warehouse building. That's where all of our larger items are. That's where our building supplies are. We have doors, windows, cabinets, commodes. I went to a ReStore training class about 4 years ago, and at the bottom it said I was now certified to sell used commodes. And I just got a great kick out of that. But anyway, so, and I always tell everybody, if we don't have what you're looking for, it just left or it's on the way in. Okay, so come back and see us or get here earlier next time. Okay? Okay, come on. Okay, all right. So, donating. Everything that we sell is a donated item. There are some ReStores, including the one we just opened in Johnson City, that buys some product. And we're limited to 15% of the product that we can sell that is purchased, but I don't buy anything. It's just senseless. We get so many great donations. We live in such a great community that provides us some great stuff, so we have no need to purchase any product, okay? What we do accept, household items, furniture, appliances, electronics, lighting, building materials, doors, windows, cabinets, plumbing supplies, power tools, flooring, and the list goes on. It's an endless list. It's anything that you have that is still got life left in it. You may not have a use for it anymore, but somebody else does. So before you throw that away, before you put that out into our waste system, think about it and think about how we can use it at the ReStore, okay? Talking about how we can use things at the ReStore. When I first started there in our first year, we made $185,000. 75% of that was profit, which that means 25% of it was my salary and expenses and the building. After 7 years now I've been there, we've made $2.5 million at that location. At about a 62% profit over those years. So that's $1.8 million in profit that goes back into building homes in this community. And it costs about $100,000 now to build a house, maybe a little bit more, I think, it's 105, 115, depending on your location. So that's a lot of homes that we're building just from selling donated products from people like you that you don't have a use for, somebody else does, and our use for it goes back into our ministry to build these homes. So that's really what we're about as far as the products we sell, how we receive our donations. We get donations from large organizations. I was talking earlier about Eastman gives us product on a regular basis when they blow out a building, when they do a remodel. We get doors, windows, office furniture, chairs, wall art. Everybody has wall art to give us. So if you have an empty space on your wall and you need a painting, please come down and see us. So we've got more than we know what to do with. I say that funny, but I'm serious. Please come down and buy some wall art. And the other great opportunity that we have is to volunteer. We were founded on volunteers. I was the first employee that we ever had, so it was all volunteer based. While I was, until I showed up. And now we have 6 employees, and we still have 35 regular volunteers, people that come in and week out. Some spend a day, some spend every hour we're open volunteering at the store. So it all depends on what your motivation is, what engages you. If somebody loves books, a big aspect of how we do it. Let's see here, 140,000 volunteer hours in the last 2 years. That's a lot of hours. That's a lot of time being given to this organization. And it comes from all walks. There's retired folks that come in that I have, a good number of Eastman engineers come in and stare at things for several hours for me. I have retired teachers that come in, a lot of different retired folks. I have students that are looking to build resumes, and that's a big thing that I preach. I go out to all the schools, because when I was back at Eckerd College, one of my big jobs was preparing students to go out into the world. And a lot of these students that come to me have never really had a job before. They've never really interacted with folks before, so that's a big step for them. And it kind of makes it easier for them because we're very easy to get along with. We know how to engage these kids. We know how to point them in the right direction. We know how to get the best out of them. And we show them how to get the best out of themselves. We also have students that got into a little trouble. There's a group called the Restorative Justice Program in the area for first-time offenders, minor offenses, that they had several different groups in the area that they would send them to, but now we are their #1 stop because of the way that we interact with these kids. And at the end of their stint there's nothing but positive reviews. They come back and volunteer even when their time is up. Their parents come back and volunteer with them. And I see them on a regular basis. And that means just the world to me, to see these kids that are just great kids, they're smart kids. They did one stupid thing, and we're going to help them. Because that's what we do. That's what the Lord tells us to do, and we're going to follow that path. And we're going to make sure that they do what has to be done. We work them hard, but we also shower them with love. We're open Tuesday through Saturday. Now we were just open 3 days a week. Now we're open 5 days a week. And on its face, that says, oh well, you got more shopping hours. You've got more time to make money. Well, and that's true. That is true. It does do that. It also gives us more time to receive donations, for people to bring donations, and for us to go out. And did I mention that we have a donation pickup service? We have a truck. If you need something, just give us a call and we'll come out and get it if you can't bring it to us. But it also gives us that much more time for members of the community to volunteer. Because that was one of the first things I heard is, I need to volunteer, I need hours, but, this doesn't really fit my schedule. There's only 3 days, and Saturday was only till 1 o'clock. And a lot of these kids need hours, and, we were trying to figure out how to expand our service. And our service is much more than just providing products. It's providing people an opportunity to donate to where they can see where that donation is going. They can have an opportunity to volunteer where they can see where the results are going. There's a lot of great organizations out there where you can volunteer, where you can provide your wares. Goodwill does beautiful work, Salvation Army does beautiful work, but you can't necessarily touch and see the difference that they're making. There are houses throughout the greater Tri-Cities that are very much evidence of what we do. We've got 4 builds going right now. One in Kingsport that we're getting ready to dedicate in the next couple of weeks. One in Bristol, and 2 more in Johnson City. One of those is for a veteran, and it's going to be our 300th family served. So, 30 years as an affiliate, 27 years as a store, 300 families that we have touched the lives of. Only because Joe Morrison said, hey, I like what these guys are doing down in Atlanta. And Marilyn and Helen said, hey, there's a way that we can help out here. I don't necessarily want to sling a hammer like an old man, but I can certainly make a difference in this community. I can make a difference in this ministry. And that's what we ask of everybody. That's why there are 3 great opportunities: shop, donate, and volunteer. Any of those that you take part in, or all of those. I mean, there's people that are trifectas that do all 3. I have shoppers that donate and volunteer all at the same time. And that's not uncommon. And like I say, the main theme is the opportunities are really endless. But the fact that there's 300 homes, 300 families in this community that now have a decent, affordable place to live speaks volumes for this community. Speaks volumes for what Habitat for Humanity does overall. It talks loud and clear about this community and how we love and serve one another. Okay? So, also wanted to point out that it's getting to be the holiday season. And I've got so much Christmas. We have more Christmas than any other business in the Tri-Cities. I will challenge any business to have more Christmas than we do. Last year I sold 194 Christmas trees. I've sold 100 already this year, and it's just now November 4th. We have an upstairs that is about 5,000 square feet. That's 3 tiers high, loaded in donated Christmas items, whether it be tinsel or Christmas balls or fake Santas. I have probably 100 Santas on a table out there come tomorrow, but most of those will be gone by the end of the week, and I'll just replace them with more, and then I'll replace them with more, and then I'll replace them with more, because they're going to keep coming in, and they're going to keep coming in. And it's really a rental service, because come January, they're all going to come back, and then they're going to come back, and then they're going to come back. But that's okay too. I mean, we don't mind that. Our volunteers love seeing them go out. We love seeing them come back, and we love seeing the people that we interact with. I'll talk to, on any given week, we have 3,000 to 4,000 customers. We have 150 donations dropped off. We pick up at 30 different homes. I spoke a lot about the number of volunteers, but that's the volume of customers that come through our doors. That's the volume of donors that pass through this institution. And once again, that speaks so much about this area. We opened our store in Johnson City 2 years ago. They're on Kimberly Court behind Walmart. Sam's is on the other side. Anyway, it's been there for 2 years, and they're starting to build up their clientele and their business. Not quite to where we are now. We got a head start, but they're doing equally as well. Between the two of us, we provide 40% of the funding for this local Habitat affiliate. And that's quite a number. This past month, just October ended, we brought in between the two stores $85,000. 50,000 of that, or well, about 45,000 of that is profit that's going to go. So that means 2 months we can build a house. Who would have thought of that? I know Helen and Marilyn would not have thought about that 30 years ago, 28 years ago when they started this. So I just look to them and I praise them for putting this together, to allow, giving me the opportunity to stand up here and tell you all these wonderful numbers. But it's really because of them. I wouldn't be up here doing this if they didn't have that foresight to think, this is something that's going to work. In this community, it cannot fail, because this community will not let it fail. Okay? So, you learn a lot living in a community like this, and you try to share those teachings. Jesus was a wonderful teacher. That was one of his primary modes, was to teach. And we try to pass that on through our ministry, through, Ray, well, notwithstanding Ray will hold me for an hour in a corner. But I will walk around, I'll talk to hundreds of people a week, just interacting and having conversations with them. I have people looking for me, hey, Milburn, how you doing today? And asking me how I feel, and I'm the same way with some of our customers. I had a customer I hadn't seen in a few months. And I saw him a couple weeks ago, I'm like, how you doing, brother? He says, man, I've been missing you. My back was out and I couldn't move for a couple months. And it's just the connections that you get with your donors and your customers. And it's not just the volunteers that I see every day, it's all the people that just pass through our lives. Just slow down and pay attention to them. And that's another great thing about this job, is I have the ability to just stop and talk to somebody, 5, 10, 15 minutes while out on the floor. Hoping to touch them a little bit, because I know that they're really touching me. So that's just one of the many opportunities that we provide and we share at the ReStore. So with that, I would offer up if anybody has any questions about the affiliate in general, about the ReStore, about what we do, how we do it, why we do it. Yes, sir.
I just want to make one comment. Joe Morrison indeed has been a cornerstone of the whole Habitat program, but so was a woman named Elizabeth Ann Hay.
Yes, absolutely, Elizabeth Ann Hay. Yes.
It was a combination that really pulled the trigger and started all this.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. Yes, Elizabeth Ann Hay. We have bills dedicated to her every year. I hadn't had the opportunity to meet her, but I do know that name very well, so thanks for pointing that out for me. Thank you.
We donated a dog. This was a few years ago. My daughter, she's almost 60 years old now.
Okay.
We donated a dog, and they must have had 50 or 60 dogs in that. How many dogs do you have now?
Dolls? Oh, we go through a lot of dolls, and actually we were getting ready to put out a big spread of dolls, being that it's the holiday season. We have a lady that works in collectibles that goes through our dolls. It's kind of the bane of her existence sometimes when she has an overload of them. But no, I think we got 40 or 50 dolls we're going to be putting out over the next couple weeks. Some are just simple dolls. Some of them are a little more extravagant. But yes,
Yeah.
dolls. That's just another example of some of the wonderful donations we get. And customers come in and looking for them. We get regularly asked, when you're going to bring out more dolls.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely.
We ever talk about where the volunteers come from to build these houses, the cooperation you all have with those?
Oh, yes. Well, yes. Not only do we have volunteers in the store, we also, a big part of the way we build houses is our volunteer base. We have a group called the Kingsport Regulars that have been working together for years, and a few of them are starting to go away, but we're adding some more to them. There's a lot of local contractors, a lot of local businessmen, that construction workers that come and help on those, and a lot of those are retired people. I have several people from Eastman that have retired. Dale B. Brzezowski is just one example of that. Jerry Jones, JJ, they call him. He's one of these guys that can build a house in 3 weeks. If you give him help, it takes 4. But yes, we hire a site supervisor to oversee the job, and some of the accredited pieces, some of the electrical work and whatever is parceled out. But for the most part, our houses are built solely by volunteer labor, and a lot of that labor comes from the families themselves. When you join into the program, you have to have so many volunteer hours as a Habitat homeowner. Yeah, they have classes that they have to go through, mortgage classes, budgeting classes, maintenance classes, which I've sat in on a few of those, and it's some really, really good information. Basic stuff on how to maintain your home that we teach them. We send them in with the tools prepared to be homeowners. We don't just say, okay, here's your house, good luck. We give them a lot of education right up front, and we're there with them even after that. We don't go away. We're there with them every step. We just had, in the last 2 years, we had 17 families pay off their mortgages. That's an extraordinary number. I was surprised, but not really, to hear that. We had a mortgage burning this past month with a few of them, just to represent that step that they took. But 17 families in 2 years have paid off their homes. This one guy, Randall, was a driver, worked for Salvation Army. There was a homeowner. He paid off his house and retired. Now, if that's not a beautiful story, just to think about that. We have, I have volunteers at the store that are homeowners. Tabby Johnson is an employee there. She was our first 5-bedroom that we ever built. Ronnie Taylor's been in a home for 4 years now. He volunteers every time the door's open. Wanda Owens is a dedicated volunteer. She always tells the story. She said, I lived in Model City for 32 years, and I knew that was my life. There was nothing I could do about it, and that's where I was going to live, and that's where I was going to die. She's been in her house 7 years now. And if you ask her, she'll tell you unequivocally that it is the most beautiful house Habitat ever built. If you don't believe me, come into the store. She's always there, and she will tell you that story. She lives to tell that story. So, just another example on how everything comes together. Homeowners, volunteering, building the store, and they're giving back. They had an opportunity to have a house, and now they're helping to make sure other families and other homeowners have the same opportunity that they did. But you don't see that everywhere. Yes, ma'am.
Do you take cars?
Yes, we do. Actually, we've had 4 cars donated this year. As long as they're in running order. We've had a few in the past that didn't run. We didn't have a lot of success with, but as long as they run at all, we will take them, and there's a little form you fill out to donate it in, and we'll sell them right out. And yeah, we had 4 this past year. So yes, absolutely. If you have any questions, just give me a call down at the store, or come by and see me.
Okay, Milton, tell us a little something about Jimmy Carter and international Habitat.
Okay, well, I can't tell you a lot about Jimmy Carter, other than, he was President of the United States back in the 70s. It was a little bit before my time. But he's still out there building. He was in Nashville at that big build they had out there, and you talk about how to build a house. They build subdivisions at a time. They'll throw up 20 houses in a month, all at the same time. It's extraordinary. They have a lot bigger base than we do, of course. But yes, they do tremendous work. And Jimmy is a great proponent of ours. Like I say, he is our focal point. He's the face, I would say. When everybody says, oh, Jimmy Carter started Habitat. Well, no, but. And then we go to the rest of the story, right? But international, Habitat is an international organization. We are in countries throughout the world. A group out of Johnson City, a part of that Habitat ReStore, went out to somewhere in South America, maybe Belize in Central America, to build water turrets to bring fresh water into these communities. And we're going to be going again next year as a part of what we call the Global Village. Okay, so if anybody is interested in learning more about that, stay tuned. Check out our Facebook page. Wendy, our manager out in Johnson City, is taking the lead on that, and they do beautiful work. But speaking of international, we provide funding for international. We do a tithe. 10% of all the funds that we bring in goes to international to help with their internet, goes to, you know, the mothership to help with their international campaigns. So a piece of what we make here does go out to these other countries. And if you think about it, what we spend on one house here could build a small village in some other countries. So we don't want to lose sight of the glaring differences between these economies and what a great difference we can make with just a little bit of support. That's all it takes, is just a little. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I can give you a good report on your truck and the two guys with it who came to pick up some stuff when I was downsizing.
Okay.
And they were great. One was a black guy, one was a white guy.
Okay.
They had a truck with a hydraulic lift on the back,
Absolutely.
backed it up to basement, and came up on the second floor with their dollies.
Yeah.
And got my stuff, and it took maybe 25 minutes for the whole operation. And they were on time.
Yes, and
I like that.
that's not always the case, but thank you. It's so hard timing on a pickup. It's so difficult unless you're the first one of the day.
Right.
'Cause we
Well,
never know.
I was early.
Yeah, that helps a lot. It's kind of like getting a plane flight. The later in the day, the more delayed it's going to be. So, but just to speak about that, yeah, we have a great staff. We have a great crew. My driver and his assistant are wonderful. And the black gentleman you were speaking of, William Neal,
Yeah.
he came to me as a volunteer 7 years ago to help Tabby Johnson get her house. He was working for hours for his friend. And he stayed on and volunteered even after she got her home. He stayed and volunteered his time for 4 years after that. And I hired him on 2 years ago because I just love the man so much. And he does such wonderful work. And he is just, he's a great face for Habitat, for the ReStore.
He is. I
So,
was impressed.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that, and I will make sure that he knows that. Thank you.
Well, okay, we'll talk a little bit, and anything else you can think of, well, I'll say a couple things, stay up here right now before we give him our applause. Wanted to say a couple things, we talked about Joe Morrison, and you talked about her. She was one of the stalwarts of this organization, kept it together, she was a treasurer for years, and I guess like a lot of other organizations. And some of you knew Tom McConnell, I'm sure, local. Tom's wife Doris, after he died, worked at Habitat 3 and 4 days a week until 2 weeks before her death. And free. You remember Doris? She was so great.
Absolutely.
Right. I thought about that. And I have a hard time passing it. I don't know how many of you do that. I go by there at Milburn Nose once 3 or 4 times a month and just wander through. Sometimes I bring something. The other day I found a coffee mug that had a picture of a golden retriever on it, so I had to have it. It cost me 25 cents.
That's a quarter right there. Yeah.
But I gave them 2 quarters and let you keep the change. You know, you do make money that way.
Oh,
People
absolutely.
overpay.
Hey, tax-free money is good money.
People
We still have to charge tax, so.
People overpay for that. Well, if there are any experiences other people like to have, or any particular experience you'd like to add to this presentation, since we have a little time, I'd love for you to do it. Before I turn this back over to you, 2 things: we do not have a meeting in December. I see our bill collector over here going to make herself fully available, and thanks for everybody, and let's give him the hand he deserves. And now I'm going to give you back the mic if anybody would like to add or anything, or raise any questions.
So if anybody else has any questions, please feel free to throw up your hand. And I will also say, if you're in a group or organization that's looking for a volunteer experience, give me a call. We can, we bring in groups to do things, especially during Christmas. We put out so many Christmas items. We need people just to price them, to organize them, to merchandise them. So it's not necessarily laborious work. We won't put you out in the warehouse where it's going to be like 20 degrees for the next 4 months. But if you also have groups that meet, church groups or other civic groups, that you would like somebody to come and present, I can certainly do that. Our executive director, Trish Patterson, is a wonderful lady. She can come out and speak to your groups as well. If you're wanting a more habitat-centric presentation, she can do that as well. But otherwise, feel free to just come by the store, say hello, get a cup of coffee, come in. And that's one thing I will tell you. We have another volunteer that works every day, and that's my wife. She's legally blind. She can't really get out and do like she once could. But every day there is a hot meal for our volunteers and our workers, and that's because of her. I help her out. I'm her sous chef. I do whatever I'm asked to do in many other ways just besides cooking. But there's always a hot meal, and then some of my volunteers, that's the only hot meal they get during the day. I have several people that come in that are either homeless or near homeless. They're impoverished, and they come in and I have a breakfast, I have a lunch, I have cold sandwiches, and I have an opportunity if they need to take something home to somebody. I also also provide for that opportunity as well. Most of that funding, some of that funding comes from the affiliate. A lot of that comes out of my pocket. There's some other groups like Mr. Dobbins, Van Dobbins, down here at the rec hall. He brings us some food and other supplies to supplement what we're doing in that part of our ministry. So if you don't have anything else to do, come by and have. I've made some of the best chicken and dumplings last week. Oh my goodness! But it's about time now that the weather's cooling down for soup, beans, and cornbread again. So that'll be a weekly adventure.
That's right. I was just thinking, Rotary of Kingsport, incidentally, got to get a pitch in with them. They've built either 7 or 9 houses. I forgot the figure.
I know they just did one this past year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I worked in those with my skills. Somebody had to take the trash out when I got to do.
Oh, I need you to come volunteer with me.
Okay. Again, Melbourne, one more hand for him. Thank you. We'll see you in January.
Thanks. Is that all right?
All right.